This is a quote by Malu of the Human Unity Movement, who is a partner of this event, and he will be joining us shortly. In many ways, we are on the edge of a new age, and our society is in need of massive systemic changes if it's going to survive. These changes need to be integrated into our daily experiences, into the way we grow food, the way we power our homes and our vehicles, and most importantly, the ways in which we interact with each other. A sustainable, compassionate, and equal world can be ours. We are quite possibly on the verge of a renaissance, and the first step is to develop a cooperative vision that can give us direction into a new world. For today's session, we will share our dreams for alternative economies and motivation structures, as the way we do business and exchange goods and services forms the foundation of our relationships and community dynamics. Thank you, Scotty, also for your amazing help with articulating what we're doing today. Scotty has been pivotal, in shaping this series. Let's rethink our economic structures to reflect more balanced relationships and to explore how to replace the existing capitalist paradigm with a cooperative economy, building resilience into local economies by empowering them to own their own workplaces. Let's dream about how we prepare for bankrupting the current conglomerates, hurting Mama Earth and benefiting from the scarcity narrative. So why is this important? And I'll stop reading. We just have a few more people trickling in. It's becoming clear that we are cogs in a wheel of a broken machine, and it's up to us to design the future we want to pass on to future generations. Here and now, there are hungry people waiting in line for food, and more people becoming houseless. Through active, sometimes fictional foresight, we have the power to shape the future we want, unbounded by the constraints of the modern world. This event is produced by the Creative Zone and Scott Guzman, who I already mentioned, in collaboration with Malu and the Human Unity Movement International, Shamanism for the People, Anna Martin, Natalia Katz, and myself, Sid Harvey Griffith. Lastly, the Creative Zone is a radically inclusive community that gathers to connect, create, heal, and self-express. We are anti-racist in all we do and do not tolerate hate language or discrimination against Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Please message me or any other host to report any behavior that does not reflect these values. And without further ado, what beautiful people are here on the screen. I'm gonna cry. I love you all so much. It's wonderful to see your faces and to see you showing up and sharing your dreams out loud. I wanna welcome Malu Wilder of the Human Unity Movement, a wonderful business partner and mentor to me. And I'd love to have you kick it off, Malu, and start us off with a nice meditation.
Hello, hello. Thank you, Sid. I'm so happy to see so many faces. It's fantastic. Last time we were together, I just came away super inspired and feeling a whole lot less alone with my ideals for a better world for all of us. We found a lot of shared ground last time, and I'm looking forward to that continuing this time around. I think, so Sydney asked me to run a little meditation in the beginning, and I think it would be wonderful if we took a moment to really just bring ourselves here. And it's interesting that we're all in a different here, but the same here. But this, I think, is still important. And we can start that very, very simply by just really coming into contact with the way we were feeling in our seat, or if we're standing, the way our feet feel against the ground, or if we happen to be lying down, our backs on whatever surface. But that contact, the gravity of it, and just examining that feeling for a moment, seeing if you can allow your entire contact to be felt. So the entire part of your body that's held by gravity. And we can expand that into just feeling the weight of our clothing against our bodies. Everywhere that your clothing is touching your skin, just being very aware of that. And expanding that to the air on your face, your hands. And then as we're feeling our skin and our contact with the ground and the air in the room, also spending a moment just feeling whatever's going on inside of us, in our chests, in our bellies, in our minds. And that doesn't have to have any words attached, just a really raw sense of it, just what it is for you right now. And then we can spend a moment expanding that into any sounds we may be hearing around us. If there's a fan or a heater or a road or anything at all. And allowing this to also be a little bit labelless, just the feeling of that sound. And then with a few moments with the breath, just noticing how our bodies move each time that we breathe. So the very subtle movement of expansion in our chests and our stomachs, rising of shoulders as we breathe in, and then all the contraction and release that happens as we breathe out. And just noticing that for a few breaths, all of the changes in movement that occurs for us. And that can be emotional too. Any sense of bringing in and then release. And any moving that we're feeling called to do right now is part of this too. So if you find yourself sort of resettling or something, that's awesome. That's part of you finding how to be right here, right now in the best way. And then let's just coming to close to a close here, but let's spend a few of these breaths inviting any tension that may be in us, in a part of our bodies or in a part of our minds, any type of tension that we may be feeling. And everyone's on mute. So I totally encourage you to find any discomfort in you, whether that's something from your day or your life or your shoulder hurts or whatever it is. On the in breath now, for a few breaths, really just focus on how that feels without trying to change it. So just let it be there. And then on the out breath, since we're all on mute, give yourself a chance to just sigh and have a real sense of that tension coming out of your body with the breath. And let's just try that for a few breaths. Okay, so now that we're all really sort of feeling here, hopefully, let's just bring into our minds where the world that we would like to see occur during our lifetimes, because that's really part of what we're here to talk about today. And that can be a picture, it can be a feeling, it can be sounds, but whatever really inspires you, like why you're here. Some of you are building eco villages, some of you are here to talk about how we socialize with one another, or the topic for today is reimagining economies. But there's a lot of reasons we're here, and whatever that is, I'd like you to just bring that into your mind for a moment and really bring it here with you, since we're all really here now. And before we end, just take a moment to thank yourself for being here. It's a hard time in the world, and this is like extra work. And if we can view it as extra play or extra joy, part of why we're here, then it doesn't feel burdensome. So just be thankful that you made it, that you're as awesome as you are. I'm thankful for all of you. And with that, I'll give it back to Sydney.
Oh my gosh, are you sure, Malu? Are you sure you want to hand it over? Um, wow. I just feel called immediately to say that our existence, each and every one of us and every person in the world, is enough. Just your breath, blood running through your veins, that's enough. And for a lot of my life, I've been like a hamster on a wheel, like gotta prove myself, my validity in my existence. But there's certain individuals here that have shown me that that's not what this life is about. It's just about being here. So I love you all so much. And with that, I just want to kick it off. If anyone wants to share. If you don't feel called to share or to have your video on, the chat is a great outlet and opportunity to express yourself, to introduce yourself. But this is really a popcorn style event and experience. It's meant for us to just dream out loud, share what we feel called to share. Something that has really inspired me is the idea of sacred economics and giving in the spirit of giving. Charles Eisenstein has written a book on this topic, and it's definitely a movement that I feel happening here with this group and all the mycelium that extends from each and every one of us. So with that, feel free to unmute yourselves, and when you're not speaking, remute, and let's just kick it off. Who wants to share a dream?
Oh man, I'll go. I was just waiting for it to hear. I have a dream. Okay, so I have a dream, and it's related to economies for sure because it's related to business. So for those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Jenny, and I have a degree in industrial and organizational psychology. And I've been really interested in leadership and organizations, for decades. And I just am wondering if a new economy is going to take a new paradigm for leadership, something that's more along the lines of like a holacracy, if any of you guys have heard of that, like, which is what Zappos has been experimenting with, where it's there are pods and there's a hierarchy among the pods, but there's not a hierarchy within the pod. Or it's going to also, I think, require like a different level of consciousness, which I know we're all on this consciousness journey together. Something that's more connected and more in unity and alignment with a unity consciousness. So that's my dream, is that that shamanism for the people, and you, Sid, and all of us who are part of this community, this burgeoning community, can figure out together how we can lead and create together, create a new structure for organizations, a new structure for businesses, a new structure for communities, for governments. Because you know why I feel so compelled as to why I feel like this is so important? This is going to be vulnerable. Okay, so I've been a quote unquote leader, whatever that means, like community leader, had my own business, been leader in corporation, whatever, be leader for decades. And I know I am so freaking big hearted. I'm open hearted. And I know that task driver, when it gets stressed, can oppress people, not meaning to, not wanting to, but like, where's the line, right? It's hard. And I know, because I know that I've crossed the line. That's why I know that I've been up against it, because I've been told by an employee before to my face that I'm a bitch, because I did something that really hurt her, unaware, because I was, asleep, and who isn't, especially in stressful times, right? But like, I feel like this is something to be worked out together. Like, how can we both be individuals and give ourselves to the group, to the collective, to create a vision, to co-create together in a way that doesn't oppress? You know what I mean? And when I talk about oppress, I'm talking about the lightest of oppressions here, up to, the worst that you see in these cults, right? But I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's a degree. Anyway, I know I said a lot, but I'm very excited about this topic. So thank you, Sid.
Thank
I
you.
think I'm really digesting what you're saying.
I was just going to say that you can use the reactions button in the bottom navigation bar of Zoom to raise your hand, or you can write in the chat, and that way we can have a queue. But please go ahead, Malu, and then Stephen.
I just wanted to briefly say that's going to be a struggle of like we're so accustomed to being driven by shame and a taskmaster, and to some degree leadership is entirely necessary, direction is necessary, and you have to be able to push yourself when things get hard, but how to prevent that from being overbearing, I think that's part of what we're all figuring out together. So thank you for bringing that up. That's awesome.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Steve Gomes, and I'm happy to be here. A little bit about my background. I'm a strategic advisor to Seeds and Haifa. Have my own company. I've worked in 102 countries so far today. As of today, I have a PhD in international management from a NASA PhD scholarship. I'm an international professor, MBA professor, et cetera, et cetera. I've worked in the belly of the beast for 10 years, 20. But Jenny, I just want to respond for us to find a better way. I also, by the way, have an undergraduate degree in organizational psychology and industrial psychology, so I can sympathize with you. I just want to say a bit about Seeds and Haifa, because we are all tied into what Emerson called the oversoul. And we're all tied into the great cosmic pulse that resonates within each and every one of us. We're all tied into that. We're not separate from it. And the thoughts and wishes and dreams that we're all expressing here, they're being expressed by hundreds and millions of souls on this planet in various ways. And some people, there's young people in the world that started to, we cannot have one more ism. We cannot have communism, communism, capitalism, socialism, no more isms. Let's just create, start from scratch, throw everything out, start over again, and use our human creativity, our human imagination, and create something that really works. So people got together and they created something called Haifa, which Haifa is it's a biomimicry system. They looked at nature and said, nature is the answer. We have to mimic nature if we want to find a truly sacred economics. We have to start there. And fundamentally, when you look at the world, I'm sorry, I'm a professor, so I kind of go on to this thing. I got to get off it, but I'll just take 1 or 2 more minutes. The heart of the monster is money. And money, no matter how you look at money, the fiat currency that we have today, you cannot use that in a good way, because at the heart and soul of money is a set of assumptions and beliefs that are built in. And those beliefs and systems that are built into that from the get-go, from the wealth of nations, are that there's scarcity. And therefore, I have to take something from you in order to get something for myself. That's built into dollars, euros, any of the fiat currency. So you have to throw the fiat currency out and start with a new currency. And the group Haifa realized that after working on this issue for 3 years. The other thing they realized is that we as human beings need a highly decentralized human organization that does not have a central power, that is not controlling everything you do. And so they created this Haifa network. And I would encourage all of you that have an opportunity to study and get to know what that whole group is doing, because I think they're really onto what you're wishing for here. So that's my comments.
Thank you so much, Stephen. And if you want to share any links in the chat, I welcome it.
Even thank you.
Go ahead, Malu.
Sydney, I'm sorry. Please, I didn't mean to talk over you. This is hard on Zoom.
Malu, we're one. It's okay. Rachel and Chris, please.
Before we just go, I just wanted to thank Stephen for being here. because seeds is incredible, and I wanted to bring them up today. And I hope people ask you questions about this amazing, amazing idea that supports regenerative movements in our culture and rethinks currency altogether. It's a huge topic that I didn't know how to talk about, but I have a seeds wallet and I wanted to talk about it more. So I'm just so happy you're here. Thank you.
I think Gwen actually had the hand raised before us.
Hi, how are you? My name is Gwen and I'm from Western Mass. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, cool. Yeah, so I mean I'm just I mean you guys are like doing what I've been doing for like a really long time, and it's all amazing because it's been like I've had these concepts since I was a little girl. But in terms of like gardening and like how, for me, I'm a gardener and I've always been a gardener, and I use herbs for medicine and things like that. And I've always enjoyed like sharing my abilities or my knowledge, I should say, with people like, you know, where I've always been from. And I've always loved like the life that my gardens create around themselves. In terms of like how it creates community and things like that, and how it exposes children to the earth. You know, it's a whole educational thing that happens in the garden. And I was a single mom for 30, I'm still a single mom, but you know, I was poor, and yet I was able to grow my own food, and we ate really healthfully, and I knew what my kids were getting when I could grow my own food. And I taught a lot of people and other moms and other single parents like how to do this. And
I don't know where my mask is.
and I like to inspire people to do that. So now I'm in Northampton, and there's like incredible movements out here in Western Massachusetts. And one of the things, I'm kind of going on what Jenny was talking about with the holacracy. One of the things that I recently was learning about was this concept of sociocracy, which is it's based on a book called Many Voices, One Song. And so I started learning about that, and I like that it's each voice is considered. But there maybe were some gaps in that. Maybe there were some things missing there, and maybe I didn't also. Maybe I could read the text more in depth to see if eventually at some point during that learning process I missed something. But like the concept is that there are no leaders. There are people who show up, and they show up where they show up. And so those people have a voice and what's going on there. So, you know, say I'm a potter, you know, and I keep showing up to these potter meetings because I'm into pottery and making pottery. And so I'm working with the kilns, and I'm doing these things, and I'm teaching people, and I'm doing this. So somebody who's like working over yonder in the gardening, in the gardens, is not going to have really much say in what the potter does within their own unit. However, the gardener may say, I need a pot, and so I'm going to go talk to the potter. And maybe I need this pot to be made of these certain materials because I need to grow this certain plant or something, you know. So I guess like I think of the world in that way, like how that can work so nicely. I'm also an artisan, and I've also I've also worked with different stones and tiles, and I've worked in construction, and I'm also an artist, and I work with my hands. And I'm a painter and also a creator of sorts. So I do a lot of different things, but mostly what I love to do is work with people to create, you know, stop feeding into capitalism. There's no reason for that. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And you're a living, breathing example of that, Gwen, sharing that you had no money, yet your family ate well and was healthy, and you taught
Yeah.
them the worms work and all. I remember the last meeting, that was super powerful to hear what you're doing, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Sid, thank you for organizing this. So great to see like-hearted community gathering, speaking about topics that it's rare to inspire people to speak this way out in the world that's usually focused on more chaotic and distracting issues. So this is just so wonderful. Something that's coming to mind as we're speaking about biomimicry is it would be wonderful to have someone attend these calls who is indigenous to this land, this country, because these concepts aren't new, they're ancient. And in indigenous cultures, nature is not separate from us. So there's really no need to mimic nature. It's already ingrained. The medicine wheel is part of nature. And so that was just something coming to mind, is that we have so much to learn from the indigenous elders who are still here. They're still here. They're still practicing their ancient arts. And so I think that's what, in our various ways and discussions, we're all getting back to. And I also love the conversation revolving around money, and just hearing all these different perspectives about money. I personally don't assign any judgment to money itself. I don't see it as good or bad. It's just here. And it's the intention that directs it. So I see money as a form of currency, and I see energy as a form of currency. And it's up to us how we direct that energy. And I think of it like an electrical current. It's just currency. Again, not good or bad. So we get to choose how we direct it. Right now it appears like money is a negative entity because so much of it is being hoarded, which leaves a lot of the population in scarcity. And I see a tremendous opportunity to redirect it out of the hands of those who are hoarding it, which really comes from a place of fear of losing relevance, fear of death. So we have this tremendous opportunity to redirect it through our hearts and how we see it fit to regenerate. We can do anything with it. So while there is still money, it's still relevant in this world. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. So in that meantime, we are a bridge that can direct the money into our hands, where it's much better in the hands of open-hearted people who have a consciousness where we can see that there's plenty of pie. Money is to be shared by all, and focus our efforts on taking care of making sure everybody has basic necessities met first and foremost, and then go from there. So thank you. Do you want to say anything? Cool.
Thank you so much, Rachel. That reminds me of what you shared with me, that nature is infinite and energy is infinite, and money is a form of energy, and therefore money is infinite. And it's about how we choose to channel that. And that's why I am super stoked about seeds. This meeting is not all about that entity. However, it's really exciting because there are currently eco-villages in the world that are running off of this new alternative currency called seeds. And anyways, we can totally talk about that later too, but I appreciate you, Rachel, so much for calling in those who are indigenous to this land and who do not separate us from Earth. We have to remember that. Thank you. Philip, what's up?
Hey, so I want to follow that last bit. I have like a slightly different perspective, and I think that money can be like a drug, and it can be distorting to perception in a certain way, and it's a necessary evil or a necessary medium or middleman in most cases. But and certainly scarcity plays a role. Like, I mean, the thing is, if we didn't have scarcity, money would be a much more peripheral thing. It wouldn't be so overpowering in a way. And I think that people are hypnotized a lot of times by the sort of symbolic aspect of it in some ways. It's almost like it goes, in many cases, it goes beyond like people's perception and relationship to it goes beyond like materialism. It's like it's like a magic trick. I don't know how to explain it any other way. And it's a manipulative tool in many cases. Obviously there's ways to make an alchemy out of it, and it's like we've got to deal with it to an extent in most cases. I mean, there are people that don't have to deal with it, at least for the most part, who are mostly sustainable, or they live in a tropical place like hunter-gatherers. But I think it's a tricky thing. I think it's important to not overemphasize money or survival issues in one's life in order to keep a balance. But it's difficult. It's like, it depends if you're on the bottom or you're above it. It's like the ideal thing is to have enough money that you don't have to think about money, or that you have enough stuff that you don't have to be so just seduced by it. And so, I don't know. It's tricky. But I'm also like, coming from a rather poverty-stricken kind of background, I suppose. So I don't know. I've been under it for a bit, so it's not. Maybe my perception of it is a little bit like imperfect. All right, that's it. You guys go.
I love it, Philip. If you want to share anything else in the chat about what you're currently doing in Vermont, that could potentially be very interesting to some individuals here. I just wanted to call next Lindsay, and then after Lindsay, Scott. Thank you.
Hi guys. First of all, I want to thank the organizers for putting this on. Utopian storytelling is, I mean, I don't know how many of us in the group can identify. I would assume all of us, but I know there was like some required reading that I had in school that was a lot of dystopic novels. So like Fahrenheit 451, 1984, like Handmaid's Tale. These were required reading in my school. And I find it really bizarre that there was no utopian books that were required. Like it's no wonder, like we question, how are we here? Well, like what stories were we telling ourselves? For like, I know my parents too, Animal Farm, like they were required to read that. Like, for generations we've been telling these dystopic stories. And so this idea of utopian storytelling and reaching this utopia on Earth where we could have an economy that's balanced for all beings, including the beings that are not human, that benefit from the currency that we have dominating a lot of our society. So I just think that it's really cool concept, and I'm really grateful to hear from so many different brilliant perspectives on this. And just a really quick thing that just came up with Rachel was my mind goes, oh, well, it's like, right, where we place our attention, energy goes, and what we place our attention on, it appreciates, it goes up, it gets more value. And so when we're focusing on an economy around money, then that's always going to be like a really big deal. But if we can talk about what exists out there, even from the indigenous perspectives, like I know like Braiding Sweetgrass is a book that's really been beautiful for me to like go back to time and time again, just to remember the stories of like how we get free fruit from the earth, like we get free all this stuff for free, and like who are we to be like commoditizing it. However, there are certain like duties and tasks that in order for us to have assurance, like, right, like the people who save seeds and the people, I don't know what seed is, but I'm curious to learn more about it. I'm going to do some research on it. But like the people who take the initiative to do the work, to plant seeds and to save seeds and to store the knowledge, whether it be pottery or whether it be whatever, it's those leaders who take the initiative to retain all of this so that they can share the stories that I really think are the answer to where we're going to go next. And there's something else, but I feel like I'm sort of tangenting. I'm really grateful to be here and I want to share the time. So thank you
grateful.
guys.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. And welcome everyone who just joined. So happy to have you here. Please feel free to write in the chat, introduce yourself, what you're here to learn, what you're here to share. And you can use the reactions button in the bottom navigation bar to raise your hand. And with that, I would love to have Scotty speak, and then Craig, you're next.
Thanks, Sid. Yeah, so I have a dream where we create essentially business plans and business models for people around the world to locally plug and play, where they can start to create a living wage, hopefully really sort of float multiple boats. I think is like, sort of like going off of the permaculture mindset of how can we, serve multiple functions with one thing. So like looking at economics as a way of a tool. I like what Phil said about magic, and like, money can be used as a tool of magic where like we, can redirect it in a way to heal the earth. And so like the big picture of the vision that I'm seeing that's like sort of like coming up right now is this idea of creating, like visioning what are the areas of need around the world, like where are like, biodiversity, and I'm sure that we could all go around and like come up with a bunch of different ones, like clean water and like, balanced, like relationship dynamics with your boss, and all these different things, like not being oppressed. So like creating business plans around these things. And like for me, what I want to do is like create cooperatively owned business models that are based out of the waste stream. So we're redirecting waste dump sites, or redirecting just waste in general, like trash and recycling and compost, and adding value and creating value in local communities, and then localizing the revenue stream so that things are happening on a more local level. So instead of it being this like, it'll be an international movement in the vision, but it would happen on a local level. So eventually money wouldn't even need to be used. We could have it and it could be used, but like the goal would, localize our economies. I actually have a friend here in town who I don't think he makes any money. I don't really know if or how he survives, and he just had a baby, and he just like grows tons of root vegetables and like is really funky and heats his wood with heat, and just really low maintenance guy. And I'm just imagining like there are ways to step outside of that economy while still having the quality of life. But yeah, that's my vision.
Thank you, Scotty. I also have a dream. It is basically unlimited free electricity for everyone. It's something that Nikola Tesla was working on for a long time. He was partnered with a banker, JP Morgan, and he funded all his research and his facilities. Well, the infrastructure he was building was basically to use the earth as a capacitor and transmit electricity wirelessly through these facilities placed around the globe. And when JP Morgan found out that he wouldn't be able to make a profit, he had all of Tesla's work destroyed. And that idea kind of went down with Tesla. Everything is energy and frequency and vibration. And it's just a matter of harnessing the wheelwork of nature, and we can have electricity wherever we need it. We can pump water to third world countries, and everybody can grow food, and it would completely eradicate the scarcity that we're talking about and balance the scales. So that is my dream.
Thank you so much, Craig. Can you just nod your head if I can share a tiny bit of what you're doing right now in real life?
Sure.
Craig is helping capture the energy that is, do you want to do it, Craig? Do you want to speak?
Yeah. So I work at a startup right now where we've invented this technology that captures the energy from the spinning drive shaft on long haul trucks. We store the energy in batteries and make it available to drivers. Long haul drivers, they drive all day, sleep in their trucks at night. Right now, they idle their engines all night just to be able to have electricity to power things they need in the cab, like air conditioning, to run their refrigerator, microwaves, all just, creature comforts. And so our technology eliminates the need for drivers to idle and saves the burning of we can save 11 million tons of CO2 emissions just in the US each year. So yeah,
and once the trucks get to their destination, they can also share that electricity they just captured. So they can be delivering resources to deserts, food deserts, and provide that electricity they just captured from having driven there. It's amazing.
Yes,
all right,
that's the dream.
Thank you.
Craig, that's so cool.
Thank you.
That's innovation we need. There's wasted energy everywhere. The idea of scarcity is a total myth, and that proves it right there. We're wasting all that energy that we can just recapture. And imagine once that's then a recapture that's already on top of an electric truck, hopefully within the next 5 to 10 years, right? And then that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's super cool. I wanted to just jump in for a minute with a human unity movement project that's going to be gearing up over the next couple months. And I wanted to bring it up to y'all because I think that it's sort of definitely relevant to this conversation, but also relevant directly to a lot of the people who are here and what the work that you're doing on land that you might have access to or be trying to build on or be trying to create regenerative work on. So I know we have like Philip with, your land up north, and we've got a couple other eco-village folks who were here last time, a few different representatives from ARC and so on and so forth. So this is super relevant. And I guess I'll just start by saying we have all of these fantastic ideas, like what Craig's organization is currently working on, but we are running out of time. Unfortunately, we found out through the IPCC report last year that we're out of time. Actually, we have about 10 years to be carbon neutral, not the 30 that is being proposed by world governments. And to me, that's okay because there are actually some really available band-aids. So right now we find ourselves, probably all of us in our communities and our conversations about climate change, with this giant gasp, like, oh my God, what do we do? Governments are trying to catch up. We do have a lot of positive movement on the democratic and progressive side of things in world governments, but again, it's just not happening fast enough. So we're sort of all stuck with a lot of resources ready to throw at the problem and a lot of emotion and effort ready to throw at the problem without really knowing how to find hope that we'll be able to get there. And the hope is really readily available. So it turns out that a net gain of 1 trillion new growing trees over the next 10 years would bring us back to pre-industrial carbon levels on Earth. Okay, that's amazing. That's magic. When I found that out last year, I cried. That gives us hope, because 1 trillion is a big number. It's not unattainable, but if 1 trillion brings us back to pre-industrialism, then 500 billion brings us back halfway, right? And we are going to get there sometime within the next 50, 60 years. The world is going to move into a sustainable time and era. We're working on it right now. So this is probably the Band-Aid that we need. So Hum went ahead and ran all the math into sort of really average and vague numbers of what it would actually take to get that to happen or begin to happen. And there are a lot of organizations already working on this, is the great news. There are a lot of great organizations. But what we're missing is in the United States that we've seen, that Hum has seen, is a link between the people who have the resources and care and the idea. So the plan right now is to put a lot of social media and sort of social, not just media, but social networking pressure via short presentations, videos and such that show the following numbers. 53% of the wealth in this country is currently held by people in the age of 50 to 65. Over half of those people vote for climate reform and climate protection. They care. If you divide their wealth on average, what it would take for the United States to fund the planting of 500 billion trees over the next 10 years is 0.72% of what is currently held by baby boomers in our country. Okay, even if we only hit half that, even if we ended up getting something more like 0.3% of what's held by our parents and some of the people here, donated to planting trees, we would have just the United States alone would have removed 25% of the carbon in the air right now if we were able to get that net gain. So how does that pertain to everyone here? Well, first of all, we're going to, once all of those numbers are up on our website and this is all organized into a nice, pretty presentation, we're going to be looking to you all for marketing help in creating videos, talking to people that you know, and really being able to get a social media campaign off the ground in a very short period of time if everyone is sharing and posting in a large network and talking to their parents and so on and so forth. If we have proof of concept pretty quickly to direct money towards a $1 per tree fund, which the US government is currently doing, there are a bunch of others, and we make it really easy. Here's the math, this is what we need for you, please click this button, okay? The second part of the question is, where do all those trees go? If we were actually raising that money, there's a lot of conversation about this right now among the people in the world who are working on massive reforestation. A lot of the land is already set aside, but a lot of it isn't. So the people here who are currently holding land and trying to build sustainable agriculture on their land could receive some of this funding to plant fruit trees, as long as they were going to be promising to actually maintain the health of that fruit tree and let it reach maturity and eat carbon. We'd be on the same mission. So I'm dropping this today so that in a week to 3, depending on the way things move for Hum, when I have a better presentation that can be shared and I have a real ask, when I can come to you and say, we need this and this and this help, who knows how to do this, you're a little more prepared, and you've heard from me already. But I think that the biggest message here is we can do this. Like this, literally, the people that we've talked to, that when Hum has these conversations and when our friends have these conversations and our network has these conversations, there are tears when the math works. Because up until now, it doesn't. And we were looking at the end. That doesn't have to be how it is. And it's actually not a whole lot of work. And we can all plug in with work we're already feeling called to do and we're already doing. And I'm not going to take up any more of our community time, but thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Malu. Ethan, you're next, and then Susan, you're up.
This is again a great space and exciting conversation. I'm just sort of want to speak stream of conscious a little bit. I think I've been thinking a lot about scale, and I've been spending a lot of time. I don't know. I invited Sid to it, but I've been spending a lot of time on this new app called Clubhouse, which I don't know if you guys have connected to, but there are a lot of, it's growing really quickly, and there are a lot of people trying to solve big problems. But it's the amount of human connection is actually kind of overwhelming. Like just the amount of intimacy and all of this. So I think there's this really interesting space where we can really plug into each other, and I think that there's a way of how do you move that energy, and how do you I don't know, like maybe focus that energy or or start small fires. So I don't know. That's just, I think it's strangely, I'm feeling a lot of connection with people and with big ideas, even though we're isolated. And then the other thing that I just wanted to throw out to see if other people respond to it is just what a fucking complicated relationship I think we all have to money. I would say in my own life, like, just, I think it's not always been healthy. I think it's, I think you inherit a lot of ideas about it and the way you move through the world, and whether you choose to not be beholden to money in the way that you act, I think then makes you question your authority to talk about, to relate with other people who have kept more of it than you have. So I just want to throw that's a sort of strange question, but I think there's this way that we need to heal everybody's relationship to money, whether it be ourselves or other people's, because there is this crazy imbalance. And I'm not, I literally think that Jeff Bezos, like, I literally think we should give Jeff Bezos $1 billion and take the rest of it away from him and use it for something else and be like, good job, man. You fucking made an insane amount of money, and that is great. But like, it just does not serve us to be sitting in a bank account. So, and I think that there's part of our culture that somehow really scares people. But, it's more to just say, I'm interested in, and I'm creating things, and it requires money, and I'm getting investment for things. But I'm just, especially at this stage, having seen a lot, money is complicated. And I would love to see a way out.
Thank you so much, Ethan. I couldn't agree more. Jeff, we'll take it back. Susan.
I'm sorry I'm late on the call, but I have a gift I'd like to give this group. I don't really know that much about you or how long you've been going, but Stephen Gomes is on this call with us. And I know he's one of the leaders of Seeds, and I've been looking forward to working with Seeds more and more because I love everything about your design, et cetera. So the gift I'd like to offer is, it's called Kins Innovation Networks. And we've done 40 of them over 40 years, and they've all been for great earth-changing things like creating the social investment industry, or making solar happen for the world, or funding women's business ownership, or right. We've introduced micro enterprise into Nigeria for $260,000 that then got Nigeria going, so that all the women in the villages that couldn't send their kids to school because they were traders and they didn't have any money, we've got bank loans for them so that now they can get their kids to school. So there's been 40 of them. They've all been wonderful. They've all been created just like groups just like this, people who have figured out what their life destiny path is. And they just decided to go for it no matter what. And we bring them together in groups of at first 30 or 40, and then they grow into the hundreds. So there's a free book called The Trojan Horse of Love. You can just put it into Google and you'll get the free download. It tells the whole story of how a group of us like you started this new method of networking. So I'm 79 now, and 6 months ago, Stephen Gomes and I were on the phone, and he was telling me about a really exciting spiritual experience he'd had, and it was really wonderful. So I got excited, and I thought, well, let me tell you what just happened to me. And I told him my spiritual experience. So then he got more excited, and he told me another spiritual experience. And so then I got more excited. So I told him another one. And by then, I don't know, we were up in the cloud somewhere. And you can believe this story or not, it's a true story because I couldn't have made it up. After we told our two stories, a voice spoke in my ear. It was about 5-6 sentences. It said, now is the time that the world is ready for your Kins Innovation Networks. And this is what you're to do. Go through the people who've been in your networks of the past and choose 12 of them that you find most sterling and inspiring. Ask them to come together into a network at no cost. And the purpose of it is that they just help each other manifest their life destiny paths. And they will get so excited that everybody of the 12 in the network will invite their 12 best friends to do the same thing. And those people's 12 best friends will do the same thing. And this will spread around the world because it's free and it's consciousness on earth is high enough now, and we're just good to go. And so that the voice stopped. 5, 6 sentences. I was like, Stephen, listen to this. And I told him, and he's like, Susan, I'm going to do it with you. I was like, okay. And we talked about that. And then he said, and of course, the purpose is going to be about sharing our spiritual experiences so we can, embolden each other. I said, Stephen, you know that all 40 of my kin's networks have always been for some measurable result, like, making solar happen for the world and starting the social investment industry. And he said, oh yeah, that's right. He said, well, that's okay. I'll start one called the Sisterhood Circle, and you be in that, and I'll be in yours. I was like, okay. So this was 6 months ago. It took me a day to choose the 12 people that stood out the most in my meditation. I invited them in. They all said yes. They were very top people with quite powerful reputations. And so it's been going 6 months now. It's going like gangbusters. Everybody loves it. And so they're very self-directed and doing great. So I said, well, okay, Spirit told me to just keep starting them. So that's what I'm doing right now. So then here you are, a few days later, you all turned up. You're just the kind of people I go out and look for anyway. And I just have the highest opinion of seeds. So I've been asking myself how I can be helpful to them. So if you're interested in this idea, let me gift it to you by just being in touch with me. And all the materials there, all the information, there's no charge. This is a labor of love for all of us and for Earth. So that's my gift. If you want it, you'll have to claim it.
Thank you so much, Susan. If you want to share your contact information in the chat, I'm sure many people will be contacting you.
Okay.
And thank you. If you see a little chat.
Yep, I got it.
Okay, perfect. And before we go to Stephen and Jen, as you both have shared, is there anyone who's feeling called to speak who has not yet gotten a chance? Definitely want to hear your dreams if you'd like to share them. And if not, again, the chat is a great option. Tyler, please.
I just have a quick little poem here. I've been getting into Mary Oliver a lot recently. It was introduced by my godmother, actually the other weekend when I was over her place and by Lake Canandaigua for Christmas. This is one out of her collection called Felicity. It's called The World I Live In. All right. I have refused to live locked in the orderly house of reasons and proofs. The world I live in and believe in is wider than that. And anyway, what's wrong with maybe? You wouldn't believe that once or twice I have seen. I'll just tell you this. Only if there are angels in your head will you ever possibly see one.
That was beautiful, Tyler. I appreciate you. Fuzzy.
Hi, my name is Fuzzy. I'm a community organizer in Northampton, Massachusetts, and I am organizing with a group called Common Good Earth, which is based in Greenfield, and I hadn't heard of seeds before. I was just looking into it now, but Common Good is another alternative currency aimed at sustainable local democratic control of the economy, and it's currently already functioning in several communities around the U.S. And it's an all digital currency that has an app and uses QR codes, and the goal is local democratic control of the economy, including being able to create money for community projects that we decide together as a community are priorities. And it's based on the same technology in a sense that the banks use to create money for whatever's going to make them the most money, right? What the banks create money for is not what's best for the community or the world. So Common Good was created to take that power back of creating money and putting it towards the things that we all agree together are most important. So commongood.earth is the URL if you're interested in learning more. It's an open source platform that's designed to be replicated in any community around the world, or if you're in one of the communities that already exists, you can join and start using it now. And it's, you know, it's one of the things that I have chosen to dedicate my life toward in service of these dreams that we're all talking about.
Fuzzy, I'm curious, is that, this is a real tech nerd question, but is that also running on like an EOS or Ethereum? Do you know?
It's not a cryptocurrency. It's
Okay.
It's quite intentionally not a cryptocurrency because, well, the way I see it, cryptocurrencies are essentially designed to be uncontrollable, and common good is designed to be democratically controlled by the community. And it's not easy to have democratic control of something that's uncontrollable. So so it's based on open source software, and the account balances are stored on a server that's well secured.
Cool. Thank you. Nerd question answered.
Thank you so much, Fuzzy, for your leadership and your dedication to Common Good Earth. It's commongood.earth, right?
Right.
Beautiful, beautiful. Stephen, please, and then Jen, you'll be next.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to a couple of things that were said. First of all, just quickly clarifying, Seeds is also open source, and it's not, it basically is a type of cryptocurrency that, not like Bitcoin, for example, is definitely controlled by the whole community, and it's designed to be that for perpetually going on in the future. They've been at it for 4 years, and they have created over $500,000 in infrastructure online now. And I do believe that they've worked very, very hard to find a sustainable and equitable solution to sacred economics. So I would posit that, and I did put some locations on the chat for people that are interested. It's really a very, very different conception of how to wrestle with these ideas that we're talking about here. And fundamentally, it's very, very difficult for our generations of people to think about money in an entirely different way, because we're attuned to money as we know it. And money is actually a very, very complicated notion. And if you ask anybody about money, they can't really tell you what it is anymore. I mean, they can tell you about paper money and they can look at it, but when you look at our dollar bills and our currency in the United States, if you notice one thing, it says it's a promissory note. And it used to be back in the 1920s that our promissory notes were also backed by commodities, basically silver and gold. But our current, I mean, when you ask yourself, well, what gives our paper money any kind of credibility or value whatsoever? What does it? Where is that value coming from? That's what people can't answer. And if you look at Bitcoin right now, to keep Bitcoin going, just going, it takes $5.8 billion a year of electricity to keep it going, just to keep it in an existence. And that's just not sustainable or acceptable. So ultimately, Bitcoin probably will either try to resolve that problem in somehow, but Seeds currency, for example, does not work like that at all. Secondly, I just wanted to address something quickly that Malu, you brought up, this whole idea of trees. And there's some really, really advanced thinking going on and doing that's happening. And I should connect you with Mr. Thomas Chi. Tom Chi, I don't know if you know him, but he is the chairman of the Buckminster Fuller Foundation. He's also started a very earth-friendly venture fund that is almost ready to finalize, that includes probably the most advanced tree planting technology in the world. And that company has created drone tree planting. And drone tree planting has vastly reduced the time and effort to plant 1 trillion trees. By itself, that company could do it at very little actual cost compared to anything else. And they have already, just in their demonstration drone projects, have planted 5 million trees with these drones. And I forget how many plants they can plant per hour, but they can plant way, way beyond anything that anybody has conceived of before. So that it makes it very, very feasible to plant 1 trillion trees with a total staff of 80 people in 10 years. So yeah, so Tom Chi is somebody you definitely should contact. He's like the expert, and who he is, he was head of Google's Google X. He's the guy that came up with the whole idea of self-driving cars. And you think about self-driving cars, and that's a whole other story, but he's somebody that really, really thinks deeply about these subjects of sustainability. And definitely, Malu, I should get you in contact with him. Susan, I just want to acknowledge Susan here. Susan and I, we go way, we're in the same generation. We go way, way, way back. And, you know, I really feel badly that our generation has really fucked up. And just, you know, I feel terrible about it. I mean, just terrible, because we grew up in the 60s when we had all these wonderful dreams, and I don't know what happened. Everybody sold out, or I don't know what happened, but it didn't happen. All this stuff just kept going downhill and worse and worse and worse. And I mean, it's really true. We are out of time. We are totally out of time. I'm a radical. I don't look like a radical, but I'm a total radical. And I got radicalized somewhere along this process. And I mean, when you talk to Tom Chi, he tells you about the coral in the world. We're going to lose all coral forever in the next 30 years. Gone forever.
We have to dream. That's why we have to dream. I'm sorry to cut you off, Stephen, but is it okay if I mention something that you inspired me to share?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. So you reminded me that this actual experience, this event, was actually prompted by a book that I was introduced to called Practical Tools for Building Eco-Villages and Intentional Communities. And it was really amazing to see who surfaced and who was interested in this kind of alternative path. And one of the individuals, not to call you out, Natalia, don't feel like you have to speak, but one of the individuals who, she's reading the book. One of the individuals who came was Natalia. And Natalia has been such a creative inspiration to me. The first time I met Natalia, I saw her dancing and I was just completely captivated and was like, I want to dance like her. I want to feel that connection to spirit that I see happening within her when she steps into her most pure, authentic, creative form. And something that I'm feeling called to share is a big part of community is authentic expression and people feeling able to share their gifts. And a dream that I have is a network of havens where people can go and share their gifts, like dance, like singing to the plants, or whatever it is. And then in exchange for offering their gift and contributing, they can have food and shelter and a place to be loved and held and appreciated. And when I picture community, I picture Natalia like dancing around the flowers and creating a mystical scene and environment. And I think that's just as important as, you know, people building the structures that we live in and growing the food that we eat is those individuals that remind us of our connection to spirit and love. And yeah. So if anyone feels called to share after that, if not, if nobody else raises their hand right now, I'm going to pass it to Jen.
I just wanted to say thank you to Stephen real quick. We need to hear that. People in our age range need to hear and see you care so much. Thank you for being people who care, both of you, Susan and Stephen, in your age range, that a lot of people do and a lot of people don't. And it just, for me, actually some sort of healing just occurred hearing you say that. Thank you so, so much.
Ditto that hardcore. Thank you both so much.
Yeah, there's been so much wonderful discussion. I was just going to suggest that if there's enough people who are really interested in healing around scarcity, money, then maybe that's something we can do together as a community. It's something that I've done a lot of work around, and then still have a lot of work to do as well. So I could lead something like that.
I love that, Jen. Maybe you could help us actually close out the event in a few minutes when everyone's gotten a chance to share, and we could close with a money healing meditation of some kind if you're open to it.
Okay. Well,
No pressure.
I'll create it on the fly. That's all good.
No pressure. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself. Popcorn it up.
Someone out there hasn't said something and they want to. I know you're out there.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me here. This is the first time that I'm joining you all. I found out about this from my friend Teja. And yeah, I'm just really super excited to meet all you dreamers, because I dream of, you know, having mamas have people to help them raise their children. I dream of people being able to dance in full expression. I dream of children to be learning in full expression. I dream of buildings made out of like the most coolest materials, but just in the most beautiful way, like taking back our ownership of beauty. And like calling in beauty in everything we do, and making everything a ritual, and also giving from like this unbelievable generous, like not needing money, because we just give from this, there's just this abundance and generosity that just flows when you're in the flow. So it's about staying in that and feeling like I just have so much and I just can't wait to give it to you. And yeah, and also just to kind of sum that up, but like in a balanced way, like finding that that balance of giving and receiving within the whole natural cycles of Earth. So that's my dream. And just thank you for letting me be here, everybody. Very excited to meet all of you.
That was beautiful, Joy. And that does give me an idea for a brief practice that we can do to end together. If you're ready, Sid.
May I say a quick share? I would love for you to end it on the meditation. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to you, Sid, for hosting this and your beautiful words. Thank you to everybody who shared. And I just wanted to speak on realizing that I feel like both the existence of scarcity and then the fear of scarcity is what creates all these barriers. And so definitely when I think of what my dreams look like, the word infinite comes to mind. Just so much flow, so much just like growth and movement, and like an infinite, I read once about how divine masculinity is a container and divine femininity is the flow within that container. And just like a dream of an infinite container. So there's infinite flow that can exist. And I thank everybody who shared in just this space for the reminder of how scarcity is somewhat an illusion of the mind. And I know that like being in that mentality is at least what's blocked me from continuing dreaming and connection to spirit. And so I'm just grateful for this space and feel hopeful and inspired. Thank you.
Natalia. Yeah, I have a dream of a priority shift, not just of us peeps here who, you know, feel this oneness and are shattering the logic of separation daily with our choices, but the overarching world, a shift towards, I think Scotty, you mentioned redirecting, but we have all the resources and abundance in the world for everyone to be fed. Why isn't that happening? Because the owner masters, or whoever you want to call them, those running the show, it actually benefits them for people to be hungry. So Jen, I see you. You feel me hardcore right now. So it's
I
about
do.
us.
I want to say it's us too. We get to take that responsibility.
Exactly. And no longer
All
looking
right.
to these political leaders, but looking to us. And like
Yeah.
every single one of you are an example, a living, breathing example of the change that we want to see in the world. And showing up today and your belief in that is why it's going to happen. So thank you all for showing up and being here. And if anyone else feels called to share anything in the chat or in the video, unmute yourself. Tyler, please.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to share one more poem that particularly struck me on Christmas Day. And I already shared this, I think, with Rachel and Chris and whoever was in that call. But this is Maybe by by Mary Oliver, same wonderful poet who actually I think passed away pretty recently in like 2019. So this one's called Maybe. It's sweet Jesus talking, his melancholy madness stood up in the boat, and the sea lay down, silky and sorry. So everybody was saved that night, but you know how it is. When something different crosses the threshold, the uncles mutter together, the women walk away, the younger brother begins to sharpen his knife. Nobody knows what the soul is. It comes and it goes, like the wind over the water. Sometimes for days you don't think of it. Maybe after the sermon, after the multitude was fed, one or two of them felt the soul slip forth, like a tremor of pure sunlight before exhaustion that wants to swallow everything, gripped their bones and left them, miserable and sleepy, as they are now forgetting how the wind tore at the sails before he rose and talked to it. Tender and luminous and demanding as he always was, 1,000 times more frightening than the killer sea. And so I thought that one was pretty neat.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Appreciate you.
I'd like to share one more thing. Something I heard Natalia say sparked something in me around abundance and sort of like, transmuting the scarcity mentality. And I think back of the time where I felt the most abundance. And in my 20s, we used to go dumpster diving really often. And there were these like couple nights. Sorry about that. There were these couple nights that we just had the most epic haul of like really like designer cheeses and like dried fruits and like dried mango plates, and they came with like the wooden bowl, and you could then have a wooden bowl too. It was just like such like enormous abundance, and like I never really like reflected to like thinking about scarcity and how that felt like the opposite of that. And I feel like that too is like a part of like what's important for me with this vision of like transmuting our trash into our abundance, and like creating models for people to have cooperative businesses all over that can like create abundance from that. Because so much especially in the US, we waste so much, and so much that could go back to earth healing missions and supporting them. So yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Scotty. Thank you for doing what you do on a daily basis too. Appreciate you.
I would love to share what I perceive to be happening, and that's that we are transforming from being unconscious consumers to compassionate citizens. And we're doing that with every choice we make with our dollar, voting with our dollars. And I have the unique perspective as a coach to hearing everyone's stories. So I just wanted to share something that I've witnessed. So once a conversation was sparked with people who have more than enough, multiple homes, And we were talking about solutions, and I offered, well, here's the solution. Instead of buying, mass-produced art from Bed and Bath or Target, you go on to Etsy, and chances are whatever we're buying from Amazon, Target, Walmart, any big corporations, we can find a homie, someone in the tribe that's creating that, keeping the dollar in the family. And so I offered this to individuals who I thought would have this abundant mindset because of how much they already own, how much money they already have. And what I heard was scarcity. The response was, well, it's like, $15 from Target, where maybe it's $40, $50 on Etsy. And I thought, and that's coming from you. So what I realize here is that our ancestors and the stories passed on play such a huge role in the stories we're told, like bargain hunting. That can be so deeply ingrained that we don't even look around and realize, wow, we have way more than enough. So something as simple as a gratitude practice, teaching those who have more than enough how to have gratitude for what they have, that starts developing empathy for those who don't have the things that we have, like something as simple as clean running water, a daily gratitude practice, thanking the water, thanking our faucets for just, typically we mindlessly wash dishes or brush our teeth. So things like that. And then that starts creating empathy for those who don't have access to clean running water. And so I see groups like this really leading by example in embodying gratitude, embodying the abundance that Scotty experienced, things like that. So that's really what I see happening. And that's why no matter how much money some people have and some don't, I think we all might suffer from the same story, the same illusion. And so, yeah, just these simple reminders are so helpful in just opening minds. Yeah.
Just want to say Rachel does such a great job every single week holding space for plant spirit ceremonies and meditations. And Rachel has been really huge for me in my life because I'm like, I have so much to do all the time. So like, she like gives me an opportunity to be like still and to appreciate water, to appreciate tea, to appreciate what I'm consuming and to affect the vibration and the molecules that I'm putting in my system. And it's just really powerful. And when I've shared it with my dad, for example, he's like, oh, praying to water, okay. But then over time, he's like, wow, I'm appreciating water now that you've shared this with me. So thank you, Rachel, for your practice and for sharing it. All right, I think that this has been a really amazing meeting. And if you guys are okay with it, I would love to pass it to Jen to lead a brief meditation as we close out.
Yes, so as I was listening, the theme today really has come out to be, for me, my experience of it was that it's about scarcity versus abundance, really, in everything. Building new economies, money, our relationship to feeling either that we have enough or not enough can permeate every area of our lives. So what I want to do right now is let's use this moment right now. I know you guys are getting ready to close your eyes for meditation, but I want you to keep them open for just a second. And I want you to use this moment right now to look at this abundance of people with open hearts and open minds and desire for service. and desire for gratitude. We are all right here. This is the practice right now, is notice. And as Sid said, it's attention, it's awareness, it's noticing. And we are right here in this moment, in great abundance with each other. And so now let's close our eyes just for a couple of breaths and do a little bit of loving and kindness as we keep ourselves and this community and each other in our minds. So closing your eyes and taking a breath. Exhaling. Feeling your seat. You're here in this space. We are here in this moment together. And as we feel our own selves in this body, and as we imagine each other in community together, let us all wish each other loving kindness. May we be happy. May we be healthy. May we be able to give our gifts to this world in freedom and abundance and receive back in bountifulness and generosity and love. And then add whatever else wish you would like to offer into the community in your mind. And with one last breath, we can return to the room together and say, Namaste. Amen. Wishing you blessings and love.
Thank you so much, Jen.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you all. If
Thank
anyone
you.
wants to
I'll only
unmute,
do half.
Daniel, were you going to share something?
Oh no, I was just going to say thank you. That was very beautiful. I guess if I was going to share anything, I guess the idea just came to my head a little bit. I spent a lot of my childhood, dreaming of being like an astronaut. I was a huge fan of astrophysics and whatnot. And, I guess, the past, years or so, I've been seeing how it's kind of going backwards against, our progress, bettering this planet. So I guess my dream is, focusing less on, space travel and, terraforming other planets until we can kind of do that here first. You know what I mean? So obviously we don't need to technically terraform our planet. We just need to fix it because, if we have the ability or think we have the ability to do what's already occurring here on Mars, we should probably have it figured out here first before we spend all the time, money, effort, resources, which may actually end up putting us in a worse situation. So I guess that's my my take on that.
I know we really need to get Elon Musk and Peter Thiel into this conversation and convince them that it's about raising our consciousness and humanity versus trying to terraform Mars.
That's changing though. It's fun. It is happening that in pop culture we've stopped going to the accelerationist angle, which we were doing for about 5 or 6 years there. Of like, well, it's over. Let's just colonize the moon. But I think that there's a little more sanity occurring now, and I am so inspired by how many people are working on carbon capture in every country all over the world right now, and I think that's only going to grow. So it's possible. It's really possible that we make it out of this into a renaissance instead of an apocalypse. And I think everyone here on a local level will have something to do with that. It's going to be billions of people doing their work in their neighborhoods that are going to make a difference. So.
Yes. On that note, does everyone want to unmute right now? And can we do an Om together? Would anyone be down for that? To hear us all together on this beautiful Zoom platform? I'd love to hear your voices. Malu, could you help with this?
Sure. Okay, so yeah, I guess there's like a traditional way to think about doing this, but it doesn't really matter. What I want you to do is think for about 2.5 seconds. Okay, so when I stop talking, we're going to count 2 or 3 seconds about exactly the feeling in our body. And then we're just going to make our mouths round and tone that feeling out. Okay, so when I stop talking, 3.
We got a baby on. Yeah, that's our future right there, Alyssa. Very good.
You're all amazing. Walk away knowing that if there's a future and a hope, it's you. You're amazing. Go take care of yourself. Take a hot shower, eat really good food, watch something you want to watch. I don't know, but enjoy it because you're awesome. Bye.
This will be on YouTube, y'all. Love you.
Later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Wow.
Bye.